the rest of Europe, the UK went through a recession, to some extent still is in a recession. Although it's not over yet, there are some signs, I think, in the economy generally, and in the teleshopping business specifically, that there are some signs that we may have turned the corner in the UK. Most of the teleshopping companies did manage to survive the recession last year, albeit somewhat battered and bruised. But most of the players are still there, and the feedback I'm getting from all the teleshopping companies in the UK is that their businesses are looking in reasonable shape. Some people are seeing real growth in their businesses, others are at least not getting any worse. So I think the general feeling is that the market is on the move again in Britain. There's a number of new products coming in over the last 6 months or so. A number of new players have joined the party, so to speak. There's plenty of airtime available, and the rates, although they may have nudged up a bit, are still pretty competitive. So I think it's a reasonably positive environment in which to be doing business in the UK at the moment. On the regulatory side, there is a new set of broadcasting advertising codes which are being implemented this year. There are no real major changes in those codes that pertain to teleshopping. In fact, there may be some positives in that one of the concessions that seems to be allowed within these new codes which are coming in the autumn is that they will allow what might be called expert testimonials for the first time in teleshopping programs. So you will be able to have men with white coats, pretending to be doctors. If they really are doctors, you can put them in, although there will be some fairly serious restrictions on what they can say. But I think that's one example of how the codes are perhaps moving a little bit more in favour of the teleshopping business. There seem to have been also somewhat fewer interventions from the regulator over the last year as far as interventions on specific programmes are concerned. I'd like to think that that's a combination of two things. The first being the success of the self-regulation programme, in that we have more shows being compliant in the UK now than before, and I think it also reflects a certain change of attitude of the regulator, in that they are maybe not quite as aggressive as they used to be in years gone by. So the regulatory side seems to be, again, looking okay. The AVMS is being implemented in the UK as we speak. One of the fallouts of that is that gambling, gaming, betting, dating, adult services, psychic services have now been reclassified as advertising and de facto teleshopping. There was a great deal of concern in the UK over the last year that would have some quite serious consequences for the business, for what we might call traditional teleshopping businesses. Not least because we didn't particularly want to be associated with some of those services in the eyes of the consumer or the regulator. But there was also a feeling that some of those companies operate quite different economic models, and they might be able to move in and hoover up all the airtime that was in the past available for traditional teleshopping. That doesn't seem to have happened to any great extent. I'm not saying that threat has gone away, but we haven't seen these other advertisers moving into our space in anything like the degree that we were worried that they might do. The other aspect of the AVMS is that the 3-hour rule on teleshopping, long-form teleshopping in the UK, has been lifted. Channels now may broadcast as much teleshopping as they wish under the Ofcom rules. However, Sky, who seem to see themselves as the sole arbiter on this, Sky being the satellite platform provider in the UK on which most of the channels run, recently published a document suggesting that they were going to limit the amount and the distribution of teleshopping windows on channels using their platform. Quite severe limitations, really, which really flew in the face of the AVMS guidelines. I think one of the things ERA UK can actually claim some credit for this year is that we did lobby Sky, and with Hugh's help as well, managed to turn around that position, so that we've now turned back their proposed regulations on the amount of teleshopping to a situation where I think we all feel quite comfortable. So all in all, it's been a challenging year in the UK in 2009, beginning 2010, but I think we could sum up the general mood within the industry in the UK as being one of maybe cautious optimism. Thanks. Coffee time.